Good morning, everyone. It is January 28th. I am your host, Tony Gilfillan. This is the Workday Morning Show. We're going to jump in a little early today. Have a little bit of a hard stop that I need to jump for, but we're going to get into all the fun stuff today. So let's start with some of the news I found interesting today. SoundCloud data breach. These are pretty common these days with how often hackers are hitting everyone these days. But if you have a SoundCloud account, be sure to change that password because there was a massive data breach. ChatGPT, there was a test for testing essentially being able to spot fake videos without watermarks on it, and 92% of fake videos got past ChatGPT. But ChatGPT was not the only one that was failing these. Gemini and Grok were also pretty bad at spotting these fake videos. So the deep fakes are getting a lot better these days. So pretty scary, pretty wild how fast this stuff is moving and how fast the machines are not able to keep up with other machines. And then last little bit of interesting but fun AI is coloring books are now available to be auto-generated in MS Paint using Copilot. So if you have kids, you have just the need to color, go ahead and try that one out. Pretty fun stuff. Alrighty, so let's jump into where I left off yesterday. We were messing with different APIs, and I unfortunately thought I broke my my orchestration that was getting my expense reports and then getting the credit card transactions at the same time. But I just kind of mislabeled my API calls and didn't quite realize what was happening until I'd already gone down the rabbit hole of checking all the security involved. So I double checked the security, everything's good, everything is now set up properly, and I created all my secrets and client IDs and API clients. So now I am able to get my bearer token, I can get my expense reports, and I can get my credit card transactions. And now I need to go down the path of translating my credit card transactions from SOAP to the REST call that will be going to the expense report REST API. So I did a little bit of digging into that one this morning, and I came up with a few different things that I need to essentially do. First is going to be actually putting some of these transactions into my tenant that I can reference that are in draft status. So you can't edit the line items on an expense report that is already pending or submitted. So essentially, I need to create some more dummy instances of credit card transactions, so then I can leverage those in my tenant to finish out this integration. Um, I did use Claude to kind of generate me a nice little put. So I already had my get from my transaction. I already had the WSDL pulled down from earlier when I created this get. And Claude was able to essentially whip up a little put for me. And now we're going to test that. So this is just a very simple put. It is transaction ID status of draft. Assuming that ID is correct, let's actually check that. Transaction status ID. Credit card transaction status ID. Let's just grab transaction status reference. Business object. Well, let's just hope that the Wisdol was able to give Claude enough information to make this ID proper. Then I grabbed the credit card ID from Logan. I got Logan's employee ID. This is just a generic transaction date, miscellaneous merchant name, miscellaneous transaction amount. It isn't going to be in US dollars, and just a generic description for the memo. So hopefully this works. Let's go ahead and test this. So we can reuse. We're just going to drop a send Workday API request. Actually, we're going to copy this so we don't have to do a bunch of additional copy and paste. So we're going to duplicate that. We're going to drop this body in here. And then instead of this endpoint, that is still correct. It's just a different operation. And I'm pretty sure this is still a put. Okay. See if we can't test this. Let's see here. Some kind of error. It still needs to be a post. Let's see if it recognizes a post. Response 500. 500 error. That means it's internal server. This one works, right? Yeah, this works. Not my token. This page contains the following errors. Below is a rendering of the first error. Invalid request. Darn it. Is something wrong with my body? One of these, gonna put this to the side, and then I'm going to also reference my little tester other side. On its window there for a second. Right, let's pull it up. Expenses, this is what I'm looking for. This is the put operation. Credit card transaction reference. Optional transaction data. This is did it add a transaction number in there? I don't think it did. Just add that. Would it not add that? Not optional. Come on, Claude. We'll just give this a big number because I'm not even sure how many transactions are in this tenant. Okay, one or more repetitions of this. I mean, credit card transaction file reference. I wish that error was a little bit more descriptive than just telling me it didn't work. That was, let's just try. I doubt it's just the transaction number, but worth a shot, right? Failed request. Does it give me any sort of indication on what is actually broken? No, it doesn't. Perfect. Validation error. Well, I can ask Claude, see if it can't find any glaring issues. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go through this request one bit at a time while I'm adding stuff. I don't think there's a task to add credit card transactions. Personal transactions, credit card transactions not expensed. Maintain credit card transactions. There we go. This is easier. I don't have to deal with the put. All right, company, GMS. Do GMS US. Where is that? There it is. Credit card category. Worker credit card. Logan. Why is she a chef now? Okay. Transaction start and end date. Throw some random dates in here. Credit card transaction file. We'll just leave that blank. Status draft. Oh no, new. Fine. This to the US Amex. All right. See if this pops up when I submit. Oh, this was a search. Darn it. I thought I was inputting. This is maintaining existing credit card transactions. Find. To like input credit card. And it not responding. It card. Turns a list of credit card transactions with a status of new that have not been loaded. Let's see if this has any in it. I don't think there is, because I looked at Logan's credit card transactions earlier and there was nothing really there. Let's go back to like the beginning of time here. Okay, there's one credit card transaction not expensed. Let's just try to use this to solve my problem. All right, so back to the expense report transaction. So you're going to create our expense report, which it looks like this. This is the JSON that we'll be creating. And then we'll have to create the line item for the credit card. And that looks like this. And then last is going to be submitting the expense report. And that's simply doing this call. Okay, so now that we have ideally a transaction to mess with, expense item here, yeah, credit card transaction. Let's try to find this integration ID real quick. Credit transaction. This work, oh, not the Workday ID. We're looking for the instance ID. Filter on, of course. Darn it. There it is. Day ID. Okay, so this will be my expense report. It's going to create a generic expense report for Logan and the GMS company. I'll get an idea from that I'll use in the create line item. Then it will be able to tie to this credit card transaction. I need to look at this schema because I don't think I need all of these. I don't think I need quick expense and expense item. And I think this was airfare, so we'll just grab this. Expense item. Quick expense. I need, let's make sure. For that's the expense report. This is the expense report lines request. And we're checking the schema. Travel booking record is optional. Expense, these are all optional. So I'm including the credit card transaction. I will not be including the quick expense. I will be including the expense item. And I also don't need the booking record because I don't have that. All right, so booking record goes away. Keep all these dates similar. And then the expense report is going to come from the API calls. All right, so now we're getting somewhere. So this is going to be our create expense report. Back to our orchestrate, our app. All right, so the flow here is we're going to get the credit card transactions, and then we're going to create the expense report. So we don't need this extra. Let's kind of make this flow a little bit more accurate to what we're actually doing. And then this is the line items. Browser's not playing nice with me right now. Okay. Once again, so we're doing a get credit card transactions, and then we're going to create an expense report off of the transaction. You don't need to get all expense reports. This one is now going to be a create expense report. In the real flow, essentially, we'll be getting the credit card transactions and then looping through them to find the ones that are in that new status. And then from there, creating the expense report inside the loop, and then creating the line item for that expense report when it's found, and then submitting that, and then continuing through the loop. But for this particular flow that I'm doing, I just need to make sure that my credit card transaction that I just found that is still pending, I'm able to create an expense report with my body, and then I'm also able to create a line item and then submit all of that all in one flow, and then I can work on tying all the pieces together. So this is application JSON. This is going to be a test report. AE is Logan. Creation date, that just came from my test data. Company is that GMS US. And descriptor, again, is expense report test. Now I'm going to grab another request for third call, which is going to be creating the line item. Duplicate this. Create expense report. Create line item. And this one is also post. It is going to be reports. Okay, that one looks good. I think that one should function. We're going to hold off on running these until I kind of get them all lined up, and then we'll run the debugger on everything. All right, and then this next one is going to be not the reports one, this one, I believe. The reports IDs / lines is what essentially we're doing here. And this one that we can tie it all together by doing some fancy reference IDs. There was my other session. Okay, so this is create line item. We just looked at that URL, which is going to be reports. And then after reports is going to be a slash. And then in between that is the ID that's actually going to come from the expense report. So when we create the post here, it's going to slap out an ID for us that we need to grab from that JSON. So if we go back to my call here, create expense reports, we're getting that data, and then this is going to be as JSON, and then we're going to get something from the path within that. So that's the string at JSON path, and that JSON path to just be $dot ID. And we can test that really quick by doing this. So we grab that sample response here, open our favorite JSON path evaluator, slap this bad boy in there, and then look for that $.ID. Bada bing, bada boom. That's what's going to be stuck in between there to complete our URL. And then after that, all we got to do is stick the string let me go grab that string plus sign and then lines. Actually, I think I do need a slash there as well. Slash lines. Let's just make sure I did line that up correctly. Reports. Yeah, so my reports slash that reference ID that I just grabbed from my JSON path slash lines should give me the proper post to do this particular request, and that's going to be this create line item. Drop this in here. This is the expense item that we found that is still pending, so that should work. No, I'm sorry, the expense item is airfare. The credit card transaction is the pending one that we found that was still existing in the tenant that is in that new status. So it should technically still be able to be put onto an expense report. I don't need either of these. It will generate ID for me. And I'm going to do a test line item here. This is gobbledygook test memo for line item. Then the last bit is going to be the submit. We need one last transaction here. Duplicate this one more time. This is going to be submit expense report. Oh, okay. And I'm pretty sure that one just needs an ID at the end of it. Oh, ID slash submit. So instead of lines, it's going to be submit. And the schema here does need the expense report. It's interesting that it needs the ID of the expense report in both the URL and the body. Whatever. We can make that happen. All right, so back to the body. Paste that in there. Go to advanced mode here and grab that create data, this fun stuff right here. Oh, that's not translating well. Need to be single quotes. Okay. So otherwise that's going to be a string. Unclosed literal. Where? I'm just going to leave this body empty because technically expense report was not a required field. All right, let's go ahead and try testing all this. Sure, something's going to break, but that's the fun of it, isn't it? All right, create expense report. We're going to start from the get-go, get a fresh bearer token. Bearer token created. Adds that to a value. Credit card requests. Not using yet. Create expense report. 201. So it did create my expense report. Create line item. Invalid errors. Dang it. Expected currency in field total amount. Did I put in there not a currency? Whoa. I don't think it needs to be in quotes because it is number. Look at schema for that. Line item, not the expense report. That was the example. That's interesting. So it's expecting a JSON object, but there's no fields underneath the JSON object. How does that work? So it was essentially saying this is what it's looking for. I mean, is that a valid JSON object as being blank? Doesn't make sense to me. Let's run it, see what happens. Missing value in currency object total amount. So it is expecting field value that's not properly documented. Need to let the product team know about that one. All right, back to this. It was expecting a value for total amount. Expecting a string. Hey. Oh, okay. And it assumed currency US dollars. Okay. So that's what it was actually expecting, but unfortunately the schema is not showing that. That needs to be flagged as a bug in our API tester. Sometimes that happens. All right, so we got our line item. Now we just need to create, or not create, but submit the expense report. So let's see if we can submit. So close, 400. 400. That's valid. No context to map due to end of input. Oh, that's right. I deleted the body. I just leave an empty JSON object. Hey, did it work? It did work. Huzzah! So we have officially created an expense report, created a line item, submitted that expense report, all using the APIs. Now we just kind of have to tie all this together and get credit card transactions that are pending, and then handle all of these API requests in a loop, and then slap those JSON, the JSON formatted transaction requests into a proper JSON from the XML from the SOAP request. So we're nearly there. Have all of our API requests working. Just need to kind of connect the dots. All right. Thank you guys for joining me. I got to run, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.